So welcome to today's session. And the emphasis, we always have some intention for the class, is today to focus on breathing. As some of you know, I've been on the road for quite a few months, and I thought a really good way to settle would be to come back to the breath as an emphasis. So here's a quote from Donna Farhi. One of the most profound ways to bring the spiritual into the physical practice of yoga is to feel and trust the breath that moves through us. So, having said that, and beginning now with that emphasis, just bring your hands across your torso, one hand maybe on your heart center, one hand on your navel. And then be aware of the influence of the breath on this physical structure of the body. Breathing in and breathing out. Probably what you notice, I notice this, is that I feel the breath very much at the frontal body, in the torso, and the breath inhale raises the chest and then it drops down. The belly lifts up on the inhale and drops down. And for this part, don't try to do anything special with your breathing. Just be with it. So not trying to change it, not trying to better it. It's just fine the way it is. And then what we might do next is to open the breath by using the arms out to the side. So make sure that you have room on either side of your mat. And on the inhalation, open your arms out in that line of your shoulders. And then exhale, bring your hands back to the torso. Inhale, opening out. And exhaling, coming back. And we'll do several cycles like this, kind of grounding yourself and coming fully into your body. And something that you might notice, this is just a suggestion, is that where you focus on the frontal body in how we started, now you might notice the side body. So there's those two things, opening up the front of the body and opening up to the lateral body on every breath. And I think actually what's happening is that you're changing the shape of the torso every time you breathe in, even if it's a subtle movement. Changing the shape of the chest and the ribs and the diaphragm. And then bringing that to a halt with your hands resting back onto your torso. We'll take the breathing into some small bridge movements, but let's just start with an overhead stretch of the arms on the inhalation. So inhale, bringing the arms back and towards the floor overhead. And exhale, returning the arms by your side. And let's continue like that. Just simply feeling the influence of movement of the arms how that affects your breathing. And the next time that you do an overhead stretch, lift the hips at the same time as you lift your arms up and overhead. Just a small movement is a really good place to start. And then after the inhalation, exhaling to ground. Inhale overhead and exhale, arms and hips come down. So just getting a little bit of movement through the spinal column. The next time you bring your arms overhead, keep your arms overhead, keep your hips up, and notice whether you're possibly clenching your buttocks, and see if you can soften a little bit on the inner buttocks. And then exhale, lowering down. And just for interest, changing this a little bit more, inhale your arms up and overhead. Keep the lifts of your hips. And then extend the front of your thighs towards your knees, your hands away from your chest, and keep your arms where they are, and exhale down a little bit at a time, the whole length of the spine to the tailbone. Then your arms are still overhead. Inhale, coming up again. Beautiful. And exhale, arms and hips come right back down to your mat. I think that was so lovely in the way it felt in my spine. Let's do it again. Inhale, arms up, overhead. Hold that raised position, and exhale, start to lower your hips and your spine, but not your arms. Keep stretching your arms away from your legs. Inhale, coming up again. The weight's very firmly onto your feet. And exhale to ground. Good. Let's hold it there now. We're going to switch over into something that looks like cat pose. So all fours kneeling position. Maybe with a little bit more distance between your knees and your hands. So your knees might be slightly behind your hips. On the inhalation, open your chest forward and look forward. Keep your shoulders back. And exhale, move your hips back, but just a little, and bring your chin towards your chest. Inhale, opening forward and looking forward. And exhaling, lifting the spine up towards the ceiling, even the base of your spine as you draw your hips back slightly. Let's go a couple more rounds like that. And really, the breath is what matters, even more than the movement. But do what feels pleasurable in that movement. And one more round, inhaling and opening the chest forward, lifting the chest. Exhale. Maybe this time, if you're ready for the knee bend, the knee flexion, drawing your hips all the way back towards the floor, bring your elbows back towards your knees. Fold your hands one on top of the other. And if you're ready now in that full flexion, allow your head to rest onto your hands. Relax your shoulders. And then from here, come up back to all fours, come up to a small dog pose, and take a walk forward and all the way forward so that you can roll up to standing. Good. And once standing on your own 2 feet, relax your shoulders, and let's give a little bit more attention to the breath through forward bending. So our movement into flexion is from the tops of the thighs and the bottom of the torso, just in the hip crease. But we're going to bend our knees as we do that and use an arm movement too. Inhale your arms all the way up, overhead. Exhale, sweep forward and down, bend your knees, and you're bringing your chest towards your thighs. Anchor your feet, inhale, and bring your arms all the way up, straightening your legs. You might tilt your chin and look up if that feels nice movement for your neck. And then exhale, arms down by your side. Let's do that again. A sweep of the arms up. Exhale, diving forward. Bend your knees enough so that your ribs are very close to your thighs. Your hands, wherever they land, probably on your shins, your feet, your floor. And then sweeping your arms. Think of your arms as lifting your chest, but your breath lifts you too. And exhale, arms back down. And let's take pause and consider that movement. And we'll make it a little bit of a bigger movement and then continue what we're doing. So if we make it a bigger movement, we can sweep the arms out to the side. Start from prayer position. So it feels like that's your home base, your hands in Anjali Mudra. Relax behind your knees. If you're like me, you like to overly tighten them. It's a reminder for me too. Inhale, sweep the arms out wide in a big generous gesture. Bring your hands overhead and then return the arms to the mudra. Namaste in front of your chest. Inhale, arms come up. You might look up. Exhale, arms and hands back where you started. One more of those. The breath is what matters. Big breath in. And exhale, back to prayer. Now, take your arms out sideways from your shoulders. Turn your palms up towards the ceiling and allow the shoulder blades to move laterally. So right to the tips of your fingers. We're working on mobility for the upper part of your back in that small gesture. And then following along, bringing your arms straight up, maybe your hands together or your fingertips touching. You've done another movement where you've elevated the shoulder blades. So feel that nice combined movement. And exhale and back to prayer. We're going to change this up a little bit, make it maybe slightly more interesting. When you raise your arms overhead, take a pause there, if you will. So we take the arms out sideways on the inhale. Arms come up. Pause for a moment at the elevation. And then exhale. And when you come back to prayer, then take another pause there. So you're lengthening both the inhalation and the exhalation. Sweep of the arms, inhale. A little pause, not stressing, and exhale. Now do 3 more of these in your own time, so you're not marching to my beat. Changing the shape of the chest when you breathe in and when you breathe out. When you finish, coming back to home base, you might feel into that gesture that the mudra makes, which is connecting you with your heart. All right, let's take some salutes. We've really done the setup for that so well. We'll stand in Tadasana and hands in prayer. And we'll go through a sequence of movements that we call vinyasa. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, flex and come into forward bend. Let's add a lunge here. So with your hands resting onto the floor, step your right foot back. Bring your right knee to the floor. And here's a chance. Take a breath in, open your chest forward. Exhale, move your hips back, and you're going to straighten your front leg a little bit more. You bring your buttocks back towards the right heel. Inhale, come forward again. And exhale, we're coming into downward facing dog pose. Plant your hands, step your left foot back. Take a breath or two there. And then let's come out of this the same way that we went in. Bring your right knee to the floor. Step left foot forward. Inhale, lift your chest and look out. Exhale, straightening the left leg as you move your hips back. That's the mechanism. Inhale, come forward again, look out towards the horizon. Exhale, step the right foot forward. You're in your forward bend. Inhale, let your arms and your breath bring you all the way up to standing. Exhale, bring your hands back to prayer. I might have got out of my breathing sequence that time, but we'll see if we can do better this next round. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, take a dive forward. Keep your knees slightly flexed. And we're taking your left foot back. Bring that left knee to the floor. Inhale, lift your chest, look forward. Exhale, let's work towards straightening the front leg as you bring your hips back. Inhale, lift your chest and look forward again. Exhale, step right foot back, downward facing dog pose. Take all the time that you need to do that, and so that you're not interfering with your breath, take another breath or two. Good. And then we're bringing right foot forward into the lunge, left knee's on the floor. Inhale, chest open. Exhale, straightening the front leg. Inhale in the lunge again, bring your chest forward. Exhale, step forward. We call this Uttanasana or forward fold. Inhale, arms take you up. The breath takes you up. Exhale, prayer. So we'll do this with a little bit more alacrity this time, I think. We've been going very slowly. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down, head down. Inhale, left foot back. Take the lunge. Left knee to the floor. Inhale. Exhale, straightening that, not completely probably, but straightening. And then inhale, the lunge. Exhale, downward facing dog pose. And coming out of the pose again and right foot forward. Good. Chest open forward. Exhale, straight right leg. Left foot forward. Exhale. Inhale, come all the way up. Big breath in and prayer pose. Here we go, last round. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, left foot, I think it is. Have I got off on the wrong foot? Possibly. Inhale, chest open. Exhale, straight right leg. I think I did. Inhale, open your chest forward in the lunge. Exhale, downward facing dog pose. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Whatever side you're on is perfect. Don't worry about it. Right foot forward. Chest open. Straighten that right leg. Take the lunge again. Very nice movement for your hips, for your psoas. Left foot to right foot. Head down. Inhale. Bring yourself up. And bring yourself to home base. Namaste. I thought a very good thing to work on here is the connection between what you've been doing with your breath and footwork. So the way that you use your feet in asanas or through your daily activities sometimes is influenced, well, let's say mostly influenced by your breathing as well. So have a look at your stance now in Tadasana and have a look at your feet. Probably we don't pay enough attention to them. And see if you can open the spacing. Do this yoga trick of opening up the spacing between the toes. There are 3 points of contact with the floor that are helpful for standing and for stability. That's the base of your big toe, the base of your little toe, and your heel bone. And see if you can feel for yourself those 3 points. And then feel into the arches of your feet as well. Inner arch, outer arch, and the one that runs big toe to little toe, the transverse arch. Relax your shoulders. And then we'll do a balancing exercise called tandem, where one foot is in front of the other foot. And these are really good balancing exercises, but also to build in your awareness of how you're using your feet. So let's step left foot in front of your right foot. And then how you've ended up is with your left heel in front of your right foot big toe. You can use your arms out to the side like the tightrope walker. That might help you. It helps me. And then out of interest, what is it like when we do the other side? And your arms come down and switch. Right heel in front of the left foot big toe. And can I talk and do this at the same time? I think I can. And the arms help your stability, hopefully. And then what happened with your breathing? I know that I'm trying to talk and balance and breathe at the same time. It's not easy. And then let your arms come down. And let's go one more round. We'll call that a dress rehearsal. One foot in front of the other. With practice, maybe a little improvement on this side. And then I want you to try one more thing here. And do keep breathing. Don't hold your breath. Can you balance the weight between the 2 feet? Are you dominant on one foot? Can you spread the workload? Very good. And then other side, other foot. Very helpful when I stop talking to help my balance. And I'm breathing. And then let it all go. And really let it go. Give your feet a shake out, your ankles a shake out, your legs, maybe even your arms and your shoulders. Lately I've learned a new exercise that I sort of like and sort of dislike because I can't do it very well, which isn't a good philosophy, but nevertheless, look at your feet again. This is called piano toes. Your big toe, you're going to lift it up and at the same time keep the base of the big toe down, lifting the big toe up, but not all the other toes. And then switch it over and big toe down. It's easy to press the base of the big toe now, and all the other toes lift up. And then go ahead and alternate. Keep the arch of the outer arch of your foot. Don't let it collapse. Big toe down, all toes up. If you ever think that you have control of your body, there's all these parts that we don't necessarily explore, which help our overall stability. Okay, good. And then let that go. And we'll move on to some seated poses. So grab yourself a chair. And when you sit on it, sit forward so you're close to the edge of the chair. Once you've done that, then step your feet out really wide, so wider than the chair legs, I'm guessing, and then turn your feet out slightly. Your knees will follow the same line as your feet, so in line with your feet. And then let's do a little forward bending from here. Leave your hands onto your knees or the bottom of your thighs and come forward in a slight forward bend. And feel that as you do, that your tailbone will lift a little bit. And that's a very nice movement for the base of your spine. And then inhale and come up. Let's take that with movement and inhale and bring your arms up overhead. Exhale, take your forward bend. To whatever extent you can, you might hold your shin bones or bring your hands onto your feet. Inhale, and the breath here is what motivates you, and exhale. This will fit in with a standing pose we'll do in a little while, called Prasarita Padottanasana, wide leg forward bend. I'm just preparing your spine for that. Inhale, the tailbone will drop a little bit. Exhale, in forward bending, it lifts up. Last one, inhale, there's that overhead stretch. And exhale, bring your hands onto your thighs. Step your feet in. And I hadn't mentioned this before, but I hope you have a strap there, a yoga belt. So if you would grab one of those, and then you're going to bind it. So you're making a loop of the belt to put on your legs. You're going to keep your legs together, and we'll do an exercise called sit to stand. So once again, you're close to the edge of the chair, and I've got my belt on just above my knees. And initially, I'm just going to push out into the belt. And notice for you which muscles have to fire up to do that. You might notice that as a contrast. Just relax your legs, let your knees drop in a little bit. then press out into the belt. And you might palpate and feel the outside of your thigh and your hips. That's a really good way to see what's happening. We're going to go from sitting to standing, and your arms are going to help you and your breath. So exhale on those 3 points of your each foot, coming up to standing, and exhaling back to sitting. If you're able to, whatever extent you can do that, keep the adduction of the legs, so you're going to keep pressing into the belt. If you notice that that's maybe too strong for you, then just slacken off a little bit, back off. Inhale and coming up to standing. Exhale, lead with your sitting bones and come all the way back. Let's do 2 more of those. Slow movement so that you can feel into your breath and into your muscles. Let's try this without the belt, but with an additional challenge. So we'll leave that belt off to the side. Come back to the same position, your feet not too wide, your knees in line with your feet. When you come up this time, so find those 3 points of your feet, big toe base, little toe base, heel bone. Inhale and come up. But this time we're not going to sit all the way down. Exhale, we're going to take a hover, just not quite to the chair. Inhale, come up again, push off. Exhale, all the way almost, and coming up again. And once more. Notice if your weight is on both feet. And if possible, keep that weight on both feet. And let's go 1 more round. Make sure that you're still breathing. And actually, as you approach the chair, then happily have a seat. Very good. So you should feel the work that you've done in your hips and your legs, and that is based on your footwork and your breath. So take a spot on your mat again, the chair away. And you're familiar with right angle pose. I call it right angle pose. I don't know what other people call it, where you have your hands on the wall and step back from the wall and bring yourself into a right angle at the hips, right angle at top thighs and bottom torso. And it's just very nice generally to give yourself a good stretch. Feel the work that you did in your back earlier with the arm movements and the shoulder blades, the wide shoulder blades, lengthening the ribs, the shoulder blades. Okay, and then keeping your hands onto the wall, step your right foot forward. Have your left foot turned out slightly to the left, and then bring your hands onto your hips. Because you're asymmetrical, this is another balancing pose. So feel those 3 points on your feet, relax your shoulders, and find your own breath rhythm again. Let the breath be the influencer of what you do. And then bring your left hand onto the wall and line your left hand up with your front leg. So your right leg, your left hand lines up with the same line as your right leg. And then push into your left hand, lift your chest, and turn towards the right side. So you're doing a little rotation, which is nice. We haven't done that so far in the lesson today. So bring your right arm out to the side from your right shoulder, open out. And if when you do that, your shoulder joint is tight and it feels like it's kind of jammed up when you do it, bring your hand back a little bit and then lengthen your arm out. Feel that from your shoulder blade. And then you might try to turn and bring it back a little bit again. Might work better that time. Or keep your hand onto your hip. Beautiful. And then facing back to the wall again, and hands onto your hips. Step left foot to right, and right foot back. Watch those transitions and make them nice and smooth. And we're going to bring the right hand onto the wall. It lines up with your left leg and with your right shoulder, and then turn. Turn as much or as little as you like, rotating. And see how this side works for you. Your shoulder might be the very same, might be more flexible, might be less flexible, and then extend your left arm back. If you can, keep the wall, hand, and arm straight at the elbow. Good. That's too strong in your shoulder, your hand onto your hip. And then looking back towards the wall, releasing, two hands onto your hips, step right foot to left, and left foot back. Settle, feel your footing, feel your breath again, relax your shoulders. Now we're going to take a lunge, and bending your right leg. The lunge goes only so far as you can keep your knee above your front ankle. So rather than the leg being loose and the knee coming towards the toes, over the toes, draw the knee back, draw the thigh bone back, and keep your right hand onto your right hip again. Reach your left hand to the wall. Be close enough to the wall so you can do an easy reach. And the left hand lines up with the right leg. Here we go again. Turning, rotating towards the right side. Drop your shoulders. And then see how you go here. Does that feel like the next movement for you? The right arm stretching back. Or you might need to keep your right hand onto your right hip. Now, pause for a moment. Keep the lunge. Keep drawing the right femur back into its socket. And then lift up your chest. See if you can, with the lightness of your chest, turn a little bit more. Okay, good work. And then looking back towards the wall, hands to your hips, straight right leg, left foot to right, and right foot back. Right foot still turned out a little bit to the right side, and then we're bending the left knee this time. Hips stay square as you can, and then pitch forward a little bit and bring your right hand onto the wall out from your left leg. And then pressing into your right hand, straighten your right elbow, look around to the left side, and then allow for that arm stretch. Or not, keep your hand onto your hip. Feel if the shoulder feels a little bit congested, as I was saying, bring your arm around back where you started, and then lengthen it first before you take it back. Looking towards the wall, left hand, left hip, pushing into your right hand, inhale and come up, hands to your hips. And we have one more round here, which is kind of fun, I think. Right foot to left foot. Take the lunge. Now you're all over this and you're drawing the right thigh back into its hip. And then bring your arms up and hold your elbows. Your arms are folded in front of your chest. I think of the image of a Cossack dancer or a Cossack person. And then do your rotation and look to the right side as you turn the torso to the right and then back to center. Now you're challenged in your balance as well. As you can see, I am. And let's do that a few times. So turning to the right, coming back to center. Turning to the right, and like that. And last one. Beautiful. And then hands to your hips, step up, change legs. Bend your left leg, arm fold in front of your chest, lift your chest, and then let's rotate around to the left. Good. As soon as you notice any instability in the feet, come back to that. So stabilize, breathe, and rotate. Right? And then after this last one, back to center, step up, do your right angle stretch just because it's a very lovely thing to do. Let's see if we can bring the breath into the stretch. Inhale, exhale. Keep the tailbone lifted. And you can chisel away at straightening your legs more in this position. A vertical stretch behind your knees. All right. And then let's come all the way in and all the way up. All right. And then we're moving into la pièce de résistance. This is kind of the direction that we're going anyway. The pose forward fold, but in the wide leg position. So take up a block and place it in front of your mat, and we'll get to it in a little moment, but not quite yet. From Tadasana, you might sway a little bit and feel your footing again, that lovely sense of being earthed through your feet. And then from there, step out to a wider position so that you feel challenged in that distance but not destabilized. Then here's where you can really feel, because you're counting on your feet for your balance, those points of your feet. So you might roll into your big toe and then roll to your little toe and back and forth, and you get a sense of all the bones that make up the feet. And then find the 3 points. Relax your shoulders, connect with your breath, and take the forward bend from the crease of your legs. And I'm going to do hands down, but you might want to keep your hands onto the block if that feels like it's a little bit too extreme initially. And whether you're using the block or using your hands in front of you, let's make this into a really wide leg downward facing dog pose. So step your hands out. So your inner shoulders are back and the outer shoulders and the shoulder blades forward. Can you still feel your heel bones? And tilt your buttocks up, your tailbone up. I'm working towards straightening my legs more so I get the hamstring stretch, but you might want to keep your knees a little bent. All right, so that's a good start. Walk your hands in. Flex your knees a little bit, hands to your hips, inhale, and come all the way up. All right, let's do one of those rotations. Keep your left hand onto your left hip, Bring your right arm up in front of you. And then we're going to reach around to your left foot. Right hand taps your left foot. Exhale. Inhale. Bring it up again. We're going to stay on that side. Exhale. Reaching down. Inhale. Your inhale brings you up. Do several more of these, but really in your own time. That makes a difference in your own breath rhythm. All right, and then let's make this the last forward bending on that lateral movement, and then switch and right hand to right hip. Here we go, reaching across. Notice the difference maybe in the movement on one side against the other. Does one side feel more fluid or not? Okay, you've done well. And then let's complete and two hands back onto the hips. And it would be very nice to take a break here, but we're not quite going to let go of the pose. So, but stepping into Tadasana and your arms just by your side. All right, and then step out again. And once you're in your wide leg, the outer arches of your feet are parallel with the short end of the mat. So you're neither duck-footed or what's the other one? Pigeon-toed. So fairly straight. 3 points of each foot. And now take up your block. Once it's placed on the upright, on the high end, dive forward and have the heels of your hands onto the block. We tend to have favorite poses when we've been doing yoga for some time. And for some reason, I've adopted this pose and it is one of my favorites. We're going to do a rotation as we've been doing in the last several poses. So keep your weight just on the right heel of your hand on the top of the block, and then bring your left hand onto your left hip. This will feel similar to what you've done at the wall. Now hold that position, straighten through the right arm, draw up through the breastplate, and then if it's there for you, bring your left arm up. If it feels like it's too strong, you know what to do. Keep your hand onto your hip or ease off, back off. Good. Change it over. Swapping hands. Very straight left arm, that's your weight bearing arm. And then I'm going to bring the right arm up. One side might be your more supple side. Just look for kind of a freedom in the right shoulder here. If that's not there, keep your hand onto your hip. And then looking down. And for me, that was so nice. Let's repeat. And turning to the left side and right arm up, but with a difference. Instead of trying to look up or look to the left side, look down at your right hand. Straighten through your elbow. Lift your breastplate a little bit more. Lovely. And then let's take what will be the last side here and turning around and all the way around. And I started out in that rotation looking to the right side. Now look down. Straighten that arm and draw up through the left side of your chest. Okay, we've done well there. And then bring your hands, both hands onto the block. One more time. Pump up your chest. Open up through the armpit area. Bring it forward. And then from here, merely shuffle your feet in. toe heel, back to Tadasana. Bend your knees over your ankles, release, and inhale, and come all the way up. Let's come back to home base and bring your hands into prayer position in front of your chest. Feel the effect of the work that you've done and the influence of your breath. The breath soft and flowing. And we'll take pause for a slight inversion, a simple inversion. So take your strap again and lie down on your back. Have your block still beside you. Once you're lying down on your back, then do a little wriggle with your hips so that you feel like you're really solid on the base of your spine. And then with your bent leg position, have your feet hip width apart, near to your buttocks, and then grab your block and lift up your hips and place them onto the block. And what angle to have the block? Well, you could have it completely flat and be supported on the lowest way that the block is presented. Or you could press your feet, lift up a little bit higher, and rotate once on the block. You don't have as much surface area there, but you have more elevation. So now feel what you need for today in your practice. Do you need a little bit more elevation, or is it going to work better for that sometimes tender part of our back to have it on the low end? I'm going to keep it on the low end. And it's perfectly fine for what we're going to do next, just to have your hips flat on the floor without any block. Take up your strap. I'm going to unbind it now. And from here, bend one knee in, the other knee in, and then sort of catch your feet or lasso your feet and extend with the belt around the balls of your feet. Extend the legs up. Now there's so many little variations that we could do here. So my feet are pretty much together and my legs are vertical. This is allowed for me because my hamstrings are relatively supple. But if you've got tight hamstrings, you could keep your legs a little bit bent. And it's a really wonderful yoga activity if you explore what suits your body best at the moment. So I feel like I need more stretch, so straight legs. A loose grip on the belt, and then let's work the pose a little bit. So where you see your feet, adjust them so that they're parallel with the ceiling. So whether your legs are a little bit bent or straight, heels up, inner heels up, and toes come down slightly. So it's just one of the gentlest ways that you could do inversion apart from legs up the wall. But let's do a stretch for the adductor muscles, the inner thigh muscles. So with your feet just as they are onto the strap, start to open your legs more. Let your hands slide down to the ends of the belt. And I just got to a place where I'm not going to go any further. And then open up to that groin stretch, the inner thighs to the inner knees, and the outer arches of my feet pressing against the bed. Definitely a good stretch. Just another couple of breaths there. In this position, your tailbone is moving towards the floor. So you're not trying to round your back by lifting your tailbone. And then slide your feet all the way in. And then we're going to do something that's a little bit akin to an upside down child's pose. Bend your knees towards your chest. You could do this just still up on the block, possibly. That's what I've done. And then bring your hands to rest onto the front of your knees or onto your shin bones. Lengthen the back of your neck and bring your chin down a little bit. You could, if you've got long arms or supple arms, you could link your hands, hold your hands onto your legs. And then finally, bring one foot and then the other down onto the floor. Slide the block out. When you've done that and you bring your hips back to the ground, sometimes it still feels like the sacrum has the shape of the block or the influence of the block. So take a little while for the back body to release to gravity, the groins to relax. Soften the chest muscles. And we're going to move into breath awareness in a lying down position and into Shavasana. So let's move our props away. And prepare your spot for relaxation. I'm going to use a folded blanket underneath my head and my neck, and a bolster underneath the backs of my knees. If you like using an eye covering, this is the time to get it and have it in place. And also, if it's a cool temperature where you are, make sure that you're covered up because you will cool down over the next 5 or 10 minutes. The spirit of this part of the session is one of self-care, which is a really beautiful and much needed practice. So once you've placed yourself in the lying down position, have your feet apart, give them space between them. And you might stay with the hands resting onto your torso. I don't know, there's something very, I don't know, what's the word? Comforting about having the hands resting and feeling the breath. Relax your feet. So feel where they rest onto their heel bones on the outside and soften the arches of your feet. Relax the inside of your knees. It may feel like nothing happens when you do that, but send the message that the knees can relax, front, back, and sides. And then in our leg work and the standing poses, we're going to let go the thigh muscles now, and especially relax the inner thighs, the groins. Feel them release any tension and sort of empty out. Let go any tightness in the shoulders, the armpits, the top chest. And if you will now, turn your attention to your breath, and as much as you can without changing it. Just curious and interested in how your breathing presents here at the end of the session or near to the end of the session. And then, if you will, allow for a slight lengthening of the exhalation. Not a big deal, just a little bit longer now, possibly, than the inhalation. I think sometimes of the exhaling breath being, especially when it's slightly protracted, being like a leaf that drops from a tree and floats down, down, out onto the surface of a pond, and maybe even continues to drop. And your eyes drop down too to follow that movement. And with this slightly deeper, longer exhalation, it might occur to you, for you, that your breath has a little pause at the end of it. The exhale, a little pause, and then the impulse to breathe in. Well, that's not something that we're particularly trying to do, not trying at all, but sometimes it's just there. Face is relaxed, forehead broad, the temples are soft, and the exhalation, the eyes drop down a little bit more to follow the momentum of that breath, right to where it finishes, and maybe beyond. What's happened for you is that some thoughts have encroached on your quiet breathing, not trying to push them away, but just bringing the breath back to center stage, to your full attention. And now, in the most gentle fashion, allow the breath to normalize, whatever that means for you, your natural flow of breath, inhalation to exhalation. And even though it's likely that you're aware that we're going to shift out of this relaxed state, without anticipating that, just stay with the quiet feeling in your body and mind. And then beginning to think of being active, you might begin to make some small movements with your feet, your hands, your fingers, your head and your neck. And do, when you are ready to move, just lie quietly on one side for another few breaths, much as you had all the time in the world. And ease up and take a seat so that you're comfortable, cross-legged. I'm going to sit in kneeling position. That's my comfortable place. And let's take this very last part of the session to join hands, as we've been doing in front of the heart center, and give time fully to feeling the energy of your own beautiful heart, where your thumbs rest onto the breastplate or near to the heart. Elevate the heart, drop your shoulders, and incline your head. So you're looking right down into the heart center. This isn't the physical heart or even the emotional heart, but we cultivate the yoga practice to connect with the spiritual heart, which ultimately connects us with each other. And in this salutation of respect, we say, Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me.